Going to work. Schizillennial. I stopped recording because this was useless in my head. Just doing the wrong thing. Honestly, don't know what the right one is. I'm going to work at a job that will never let me retire because it doesn't make enough money, and more because I wasted all the money that I made when I had a good job. When I was a kid, we were supposed to go to college to get a better job, but I don't believe you need to do that. Just go work at some company and eventually you'll work your way up. College is just a piece of paper, and that degree I have is worthless now. Yeah, there's still finance in the world, but I didn't learn anything in college. I didn't learn how to learn. And I just wanted that piece of paper so I could get a better job. And I got a good job out of college. But I'm terrible with managing long-term relationships because I'm afraid to tell people what I think they don't want to hear. So anytime I had a complaint about something and I needed to tell my boss, I didn't do it. When the lady 2 levels above me asked me why I was leaving that job, I said it was because it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. Which, it was an opportunity that most people at that place wouldn't have gotten. But I should have passed it up. Should have just stayed at that company. I'd be making 6 figures now. I wouldn't have cashed in my 401k. And I'd be fine. But that's not the important part. The important part was keeping and maintaining relationships with people. And if you don't go to college, if you do that, you'll probably be just fine. Anyway, back to riding my bike to work. That makes $17.50, but I'm 43, so if I don't get another higher paying job, I'll be doing this until I die. Which could be today. I could get hit by a car, but I'd probably just be maimed, And that'd be another test from God, because I don't have health insurance, just like when he took my car and I didn't have car insurance. Neither did the guy that hit me. But he got it that day, and I don't think retroactively it ever would have worked, so I didn't try, because I don't like making people that do shit they don't want to do, which is all about me. It might be my fatal flaw. Well, maybe not fatal, just biggest. I don't really know. I don't know what the bullet points are to make you a good person. I could say don't do harm intentionally to somebody else, but beyond that, I don't know. You're supposed to yell at people when you're mad at them? Or are you supposed to hold it in? I held stuff in for my entire life. Stuff that I didn't think they wanted to hear. It caused problems, welled up inside me. It might be a reason for my failed relationships. Not with girlfriends, I barely had any of those, but with everyone. Anyway, I don't really know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I know I'm going to a job that has people that will say things that are ridiculous. But those are everywhere. And that's kind of upsetting. I do believe that God wants me to ask people for help, but I've been to therapy. It didn't work, but that's because I didn't maintain the relationship with the therapist. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, my idea was today, which is stupid, we went out for my parents' 51st anniversary on Sunday. And there was a really attractive waitress. So, my plan is to go to that restaurant and talk to her, but probably shouldn't, because she's likely half my age, and that's been a problem my whole life. If I could go back and do it all over again, when I was 21, there was this girl that was 17, and I was too afraid to say what I thought about her. One of the reasons was age. It's only 4 years then. Now this other one is 20, unless she's deceptively old and like 30 years old. But I thought I wasn't supposed to do that because she was too young. At least that's how I rationalized it in my head. But the truth is, I was a coward. She was a wonderful person. Ended up marrying one of my friends that I haven't talked to in years. But in the time that I had known him, she wasn't the only one that picked him. I've had an inferiority complex ever since my first crush picked somebody else. And yeah, that was in 4th grade. Get over it already. But the only girl that ever picked me, you can put air quotes in there if you want, ended up cheating on me. So I never would have done that to her. So I thought she didn't love me. She picked somebody else. But people make mistakes. I should have forgiven. But I never would have trusted her again. And I'm pretty sure I was just the next in line until she met her husband. And I'm not perfect either. I did some shitty things to her. People's standards, they weren't really that bad. In my opinion is garbage. It's worthless. One individual, and I'm not God. The only person that knows the right thing is God. Is that true? I don't know. I thought being nice to people my whole life, and well, in my head nice, not saying things they didn't want to hear because I didn't want to upset them. In my opinion, that was nice. Or making them smile. What was it? I don't know. And of course, since I'm insane, that guy that just waved, I think that's God. My brain really went to the pooper when I started to try and identify what was God and what wasn't. Although the argument could be made that my brain was in the pooper the whole time. Even though I got good grades, would think things that other people don't, that were logical or whatever. People say, that guy doesn't have any common sense. What's common sense? Common sense is what you think is correct. So technically, everybody has common sense. Yesterday I said something that my dad really enjoyed. I'm going to try and remember it. I thought it was pretty great too. But my dad's opinion, I don't know if it's any good either. He once said, I think he deep down has hurt and he doesn't know how to get it out. And he just takes what the world gave him. I did the same thing, except the world never gave me a girl that wouldn't cheat on me. And I have to take that. Anyway, my dad goes to a church every week that has a maximum of, I don't know, like 20 people that show up. Although, I don't know the Bible quote, but if some people are gathered in my name, I'm there. So, Jesus attends millions of churches every Sunday. And Wednesday night when they have prayer meetings and whenever. Which, how can you do that? Must be a terrible burden. Unless you're a god. And then I have no idea what a burden is. Anyway, when I go with him to that church, which is rare. I don't know, I don't think I'm good enough, or I don't get up in the morning and he leaves at 8. But there's always less than 10 people there. Anyway, one time we were talking about rejection, because that's a big bullet point in my life. And I asked him, do you feel rejected when your wife or I or the rest of your family doesn't go to the church? And bullet point, huge wind we're feeling right now. I think God can control the weather. Although one man once said, that's Satan. I don't know, could be either. But I think the wind I'm feeling is on purpose. And maybe it's not. Entirely possible. Go back to the dad church thing. He ended up saying, I am the church. Which can't be 100% on anything that involves God, because, well, faith takes away at least 1%, and if you use faith to make fact, then you're going to get in trouble. Anyway, that I am the church comment, that can't be good in any facet of the term. That emphasizes you and not him. Oh, by the way, it's a Christian church. That's a no-brainer for me. Been raised in majority Christian digs and been around majority Christian people my whole life. So maybe you know what country I'm in. If you're good at computers, you can probably trace this video. Anyway. That comment, I am the church, does that mean when my Father gets up to heaven, or the gates before heaven, is Jesus going to say, you didn't know me? Because deep in his heart, he thought he was the church? I worry about that. My dad has never intentionally harmed anyone. The only bad thing that I'd say I've ever witnessed him doing was one time when he was teaching my older sibling to drive, or she'd already been taught and she was just driving on her permit or license, I don't know. It was early in her driving career. She hit a dog, and my dad said, keep going. I thought that was incredibly terrible. But that's people, if you think about it. If you don't intend to hurt someone, and you do, in the process of whatever it is you're doing, you just drive on, and they have to deal with it. Well, that's new for me, anyway. Seems quite profound, in my opinion. But it's probably been written a million times from a bunch of different people, so not really profound. There's not really much that hasn't been thought of, I'm pretty sure. Unless it's in regards to individual people being thought of by other individual people. Anyway, the thing I thought of yesterday, thought it was pretty good. People always say time or life goes by so fast. Well, in my opinion, it's not really the case. I think it seems to go by so fast. Or I thought about a reason a long time ago, but I think this is a better one. Time seems to go by so fast because you forget everything. 99% of what happens in your life you forget. You only remember specific things if they stuck with you for whatever reason. Memories stick with you. I'm sure that's different for everyone. But the rest you forget. Speaking of forgetting, I said earlier, I'm not good at managing relationships, and I have none. All my friends from high school, they were my friends because they picked me, they invited me places, but they're all gone. They all got married, I didn't, and so our relationship was ended. And that's on me. I didn't fight to keep them in my life. But they got married, I didn't, so I figure it was the partnership that helped. I didn't have a partnership. I didn't have a buffer to talk to the wife while I hung out with the husband. I thought of them all as equal. I loved every one of them the same. But did I actually love anybody? Thing always creeps up. And the answer is, I don't know. And if I do go to this restaurant, I do have the balls to say something. And this girl half my age says, okay, I'll be yours. You'll be mine. We'll be together forever. If that happens, are those people going to come back? Because that woman will be half the age of everybody else. I don't know. And it probably won't even work because I probably won't say anything. Because that's my MO. That's what I do. That's one of the things I can't say. Well, I don't say. I have a voice box, so I could potentially say it. But my shame is in the way. I think I've said this already before, but that shame came from doing something I wasn't supposed to do. I fell in love with a relative. That's one of the things I held inside my whole life. And it caused a lot of issues. Most importantly, likely, is what I just said. Just so you know, while I'm riding down this road, there was a trigger event that happened in my life that, well, actually it was a series of events. There was definitely a starting point, and it caused me to think that practically everything in life has a deeper meaning, and if it was put there in front of you on purpose by God or Satan or something non-Christian, I'm 100% sure that it does. So I could tell you what I think about that car or the cop that was in front of me that was a K9 unit or whatever, but it's useless. Even when I think it or say it to myself, it's useless. It only causes me pain, and possibly pain for anybody I tell, because they think I'm insane. Which then leads to the thought that I didn't love Jesus right. And if that's the case, regardless of the worry for my father, I'm screwed. Because I don't know how to change what I think about love. And if I'm wrong, my personal self-esteem was built on knowing things, because I was blessed with a brain that absorbed when I was a kid. I didn't have to learn. They said it once and I heard it. It's not the case now. And that's not how you learn. Whew. You learn, I think, I don't know, I'm probably wrong, by butting your head against the wall a bunch of times until that pounding gets through your skull. And if life is about pursuing what you want and going out and getting it, then I've wasted 4 decades. Because in order to get that girl that will pick you, you gotta talk to them. Show them you're interested. In this stupid trip I'm taking right now, to go not even try or be rejected, I feel like it's the wrong thing. It's the same way, the same direction to AA, which would be asking for help. And based on what I heard at my first meeting, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. I think I'm an addict. And that addiction could be filled by something good. And at times it was. But the real thing about it is, I shouldn't need that addiction. I should be okay with me by myself. But I'm analytical, so why should I be okay with myself? I've ruined practically every relationship I've ever had. Not in a terrible way, just in a they're not here anymore way. And maybe that is a terrible way, I don't know. I shouldn't judge that. But what made me okay with parts of me was knowing stuff, but when I became old enough, making people laugh. Which, that makes it all about me. But if you need to love yourself, isn't that all about you? I think too much. And I can't stop. I'm always going to have a brain, and it is going to be continually processing until the day I die. But if I take medication, like people tell me to, doesn't that take away me? Then it's not me, it's the drug. And that's the same thing as addiction. But if it's a doctor prescribed addiction, then it's okay. Or if it's an addiction to some deity, it's okay. Well, that's new also. And the new thing about life being short, because we forget everything. I did have another idea about that a while back, a few years ago or whenever it was, I don't know. It was every second that we live is in reference to the other seconds that we've lived. So every time we live another second or minute or hour or day or whatever portion of time you want to put it to, millisecond. The rest of them seem shorter in comparison. I still like that, but the forgetting things seems better to me. Anyway. And there's another reference to God. I got two for that one. My triggering event was immediately followed by me turning on well, not immediately, very soon after. A few minutes, I don't remember, it was a long time ago. But I turned on the radio. The first thing I heard was, "And then I found God." So I thought that was on purpose. And if God controls the radio, what else does he control? Which ballooned into everything when I saw other things or heard other things that I thought couldn't be coincidental. And sharing that with anybody is mental illness. But that guy had a speaker. One time I was doing DoorDash, the second part of this, they said there was two. And at the restaurant I was at, which is my favorite restaurant, they were taking forever. There was a girl standing there that I didn't go talk to because I never do. Well, not never, just almost never. And there was a guy who yelled at the people to hurry up, which that's not something I do either if I'm angry about it, which happens sometimes. Most of the time it doesn't. I internalize it. And he had a speaker on him, which I would never do because I don't want to interrupt somebody else's day with something that they don't want. So I wouldn't play a speaker in a crowded room full of people, which made me think, which was one of the things I thought was good, but it might not be. I don't know. That's me thinking I was a good person. And I did have a Christian fairly recently tell me that he was wondering what was good about himself. And he screamed at the heavens. Well, he didn't say the heavens, but he yelled, "What do you want from me?" And he heard a voice that he said was God saying, "I want you." And I've done that exact same thing. And the only voices I've ever heard are schizophrenia. And they've only happened 10 times or something like that. So I'm fairly certain they were on purpose. And it could have been God. But people won't believe that when I say it. It saddens me, but it shouldn't. Because why didn't God tell me that? He did have a person who I went to grade school and high school with tell me the same thing. That I was from a human, not from him. Oh, and I'm gonna feel guilty about not talking to this homeless person, asking for help like she is. I'm doing what I've done 1,000 times. And also, I think that homeless person is God. FYI. Or an angel or a demon or some shit that knew I was going to be here. Oh shit. And I just realized I passed where I was going. So I'm an idiot. Or maybe that person was a reminder that I passed where I was going. Or maybe it was just a homeless person asking for help. I don't know. Or maybe that's just one of her, I gotta fill my time with the rest of life activities and she's retired. I don't know. That's a way into another joke. Be to drown me out because my words said to no one are just a cycle in narcissism. For me, futility. Because ultimately, they're worthless. I was so consumed by not getting in anybody's way, I forgot where I was going. And maybe instead of going and talking to the girl who's half my age, who is probably not going to be there, maybe I should speak to someone that needs help, like that lady on the corner. I could give her the 20 my dad gave me last night, but is that gonna help? I don't know. Is that what people need when they're on the corner? Do they need money? Or do they need love? But talking helps. I haven't blamed anything on God yet. There is one instance that I'll always blame on Him, which led to me losing my house, trusting in something that wasn't what I thought. Hey, that's just like the girl that said she wanted to be with me forever. Not only did she say that, she wrote in my yearbook that I was the best thing that ever happened to her. And since she's married with a child, I doubt that's true. But hey, maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe she was the best thing that ever happened to me. Getting my heart broke. Not broke, shattered. It was already broke or cracked or whatever. From falling in love with a relative. And it seems that the world very often is trying to get me to yell at people. And I don't like what they did. But I don't. I'm so desperate for approval. And that's what I'm doing right now. Trying to find approval. Which I would bet anything that I won't find with where I'm going. And it'll probably make me late for work. I don't know. When I was doing DoorDash, I had a chance to find that thing at that counter and in 1,000 other places. Maybe more, maybe a couple thousand, maybe 10,000, I don't know. It's been 10 years. So, me is expressing that fact to some woman and having her agree. That's what I want. Is that gonna happen? I don't know. Part 1 of the Schizollennial Ride And if I've taken too much time already, I'll be back on the bike in 5 minutes.